Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Man, we got a real short week this week. We had 4th of July on Monday, and then, we were out yesterday, took a little extra day, if you will, and now we are back. So much to get to, so much to talk about. Just college football changing by just the blasted minute here, Ben. At the end of the day, we'll get to that coming up. Braves continue to win, but so much is happening around the world of sports that it's hard to keep up. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking college football on the show. Like just since last week, so much has changed, Ben. Like we were sitting here last week, and again, all my days are running together, but it was last week. What, last Thursday? It's like Southern Cal and UCLA are going to the Big Ten. They're going to do what? And now they're courting Notre Dame. They told Oregon and Washington to chill. They're waiting on Notre Dame. What? That was the next day. Then you come out of 4th of July holiday, after everybody's had their 375 different, this could happen and this could happen. And apparently Notre Dame has said no to the Big Ten. We're here in the ACC and Pac-12 are talking alliance because that worked out so great the first time. The Big 12's looking at going to the Pac-12 to start ripping teams. I mean, so much has happened in like 4 or 5 days. It's insane. We're going to talk about that throughout the show. We'll hear from Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, about that. And we'll talk some golf with Rich Stiles as we are a week away from the next major. So a lot of stuff to get to, Ben, here on the show. How was your 4th of July after I give you that full diatribe on what has happened in the world of sports?
My 4th of July was non-meme free, Kevin. I didn't no degree burns from these fireworks. I don't know why people don't know what the hell they're doing. Like, if you ain't never lit a firework that can barely make a noise, don't try to be, I'm gonna light this neighborhood up. No, you're gonna set your house on fire. Like some of this stuff I've been seeing, but no, I'm like you, Kevin. I'm looking, and mind you, I get my news from a lot of places. But it seems like you said, it's almost like college football is saying, hey, dude, we're going to dominate the headlines, not kind of dominate them. And it's like as soon as you go UCLA, USC, nope, not good enough. Here come Notre Dame, nope. And you mentioned Oregon, you mentioned UW, and you start talking about the ACC and the Pac-12 and all these different things. But it just shows, Kevin, college football wants to be the thing. They're trying to say, hey, man, we want to be the thing. From NBA basketball, nope. NFL football, no. We because when you start thinking about it, Kevin, they got Saturdays, right? They already got Saturdays, and they're saying, okay, who can have the best programming? Like if you compare, and I'm not talking about the 95 or however many games it is on Saturday, the top games on Saturday compared to the top games on Sunday. If you really start comparing the two, and I get it, we're biased because obviously we're college football fans. I get that part. But if you unbiased opinion is Cleveland, versus Miami, better than Clemson potentially versus Alabama. It's not. If you so I understand what's going on, but talking to my nephew who's in college right now, and I was telling him, I said, listen, but this is the one thing, Kevin, this is the crazy thing. We ain't even gonna have a chance to get to in the show. They said that Jackson State, now it's just a rumor now, could be trying to go to the Big Ten. And I go, I go, is that how listen, and I said, is that how crazy we've gotten with news? Like we could just say anything, just throw it out there. Jackson. I said, listen, man. Jackson State cannot go bump that. We just forget everything. But I do know, Kevin, when we start thinking about this now, nothing is off the table. Now,
no,
I do think Notre Dame telling the Big Ten no. Well, that's off the table. So Rick Warren, I'm sorry, but that's not happening. And you know why that is? Because Rick Warren blew his shot with Notre Dame during the pandemic because of how he did everything. And Notre Dame is saying, I'm not coming to a conference that's already dysfunctional. The chancellors and the ADs and the Big Ten, y'all dysfunctional as hell. And the whole world saw it. I'm not coming over there to deal with that. So, hey, man, you know who's sitting back? You know who's sitting back with his feet up right now, Kevin? Greg Sankey. He's just sitting back. He said, because I already got Texas and Oklahoma. So anybody else is going to be a bonus. Y'all need us. We don't need y'all. But it is college football, Kevin. And it used to be when there was no football, we have to search for headlines. Those days are over, people. Over.
No. Certainly not. We'll talk about that again. I know I hadn't heard that Jackson State thing, Ben. That's pretty funny. I mean, I know Dion's good. I don't know if he's that good.
Let me tell you something.
I mean,
Dion wouldn't know what to do with that. Pound, baby. Is it? Yeah.
I know you raised a lot of money, Dion, but we're going to need a whole lot more. Why? Because it's going to cost $20 million to get in the Big Ten. Our whole athletic budget was like
we need $20 million to hit the account before we even pick up the phone. Phone calls ain't like they used to be. They cost a little bit.
So we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. I mean, as we said, just it changes by the minute, the hour, the day. Just constantly what's going to happen next. And I feel like what's happening now. We'll get to that. I feel like what's happening now is a lot of reactionary moves to set people up. Say, hey, look, I don't want to get left holding the bag with nowhere to go at the end of the day. So a lot of these potential reactions out there, I think, are, hey, if I'm the Pac-12 commissioner, I'm trying to keep this thing together with what I got left, maybe some more. If I'm the Big 12 and some of the rumors out there, maybe you sense a moment of weakness and you can prey upon everybody's, I don't want to be left holding the bag, so I might jump while the getting's good. So we'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. But, Ben, the Braves keep right on rolling along. They won again last night, 7-1 over the Cardinals. Matt Olson, Austin Riley combined for 5 RBI last night, and now 2.5 games behind the Mets. Once again, I know, Ben, you and I were laughing. We love the Braves never lose meme that's going around out there, and it's been pretty much the case. But you talk about the narrative that a lot of Mets fans put out there, Ben, of, well, it's just the Braves, beating up on a weak schedule. Okay, that's fine. But what about the last few series they've played? They've played the Padres, played the Dodgers, they've played the Phillies, who, oh, by the way, the Phillies are right there. I think they would be like the first team out in the wild card right now, so they're right there contending for postseason. And now they're playing the Cardinals, who are obviously contending for the postseason. The Braves are 8-3 in those games. If they win tonight, they'll be 9-3. So is it still the weak schedule? What is it as to why the Braves just keep beating up on bad teams?
Kevin, you know what this is about. This is about a bunch of teams that's never ever gonna make it to a World Series, let alone even win their division, right? And why do the Braves get this? Why can't the Braves just be good? Like why is it no team has been trending upward more than the Braves since Snit when I was asking Thomas got there. But Kevin, you know what this is about. Now look, I can say this. Don't nobody hate on no Falcons. Don't nobody hate on no Hawks. Don't nobody know who in the hell Atlanta United is. It's just sorry, BJ. They just don't. But when it comes to the Braves, like the Braves, and I'm gonna say this too, to you Dallas Cowboys fans, do you know who the original America's team was? That would be the Bravos. They were the original America's team. Now, I ain't even gonna get it back and forth with y'all. But Kevin, this is about the fact that the Braves are only winning because the teams. But could you imagine if it was the other way? And the Braves were losing? I told you, they're a fluke. Well, if the Braves are a fluke and they're the defending World Series champs, what is your team? Like just seriously. Because what happens is, Kevin, we knew the Mets ain't necessarily metting. It's just the Braves are doing what the Braves do. They're like, look, man, this is the first time we ever had to come back, and he's going to bring out the best of the worst in us, and it's bringing out the best in them. 2.5 games up in the wild card. And the Braves are saying, look,
4.5 games up in the wild.
4.5 games up. I think, Kevin, to all the naysayers, look, I walk around, I get the whole, you a Braves fan? What type of question is that? Are you serious, sir? Are you serious, ma'am? What, am I a Brave? They said, well, they don't look like a Braves hat to me. Well, you better look again, and you better look hard. Because all I know is, Kevin, I'm going to say this. As great as the Braves have been, I still don't think they are playing as well as they can be. Now they are playing extremely well. But could you imagine if the bats are on fire, the starting pitch is on fire, the bullpen is on, the Braves are just saying, look, we got one of the best players in baseball. He's playing okay, right? He ain't blowing you away. But they got the best shortstop in baseball. And you can tweet me all you want. Dansby Swanson is the best shortstop in baseball right now. And you can't even remember how bad he started the season off. So I'm gonna tell Dansby, hey, Dansby, I don't like how you started, but if that's what you got to do to end up like this, hey, count me in every time, baby. I will take this. Austin Riley still getting it done. Matt Olson is incredible. Rosario is gonna be back. I don't know when Ozzy's coming back. They're doing all of this. You don't even hear about Mike Soroka. That is how good the Braves are. You don't even talk about. Not saying that Mike Soroka. No, Mike. We want you back now. But Mr. Strider, I love me some Strider, man. He be balling every time. The stash and everything. Kevin, they're getting it done. The month of June for the Braves was incredible. I want them to keep that up in the month of July, and they're sticking with their winning ways.
Yeah, and again, a wonderful start to the month of July for Atlanta as well. You're playing a good team. If they win tonight, guarantee 3 out of 4 at the worst if they can win tonight over the Cardinals. So again, I feel like Mets fans like to say that now because they're nervous. They know what team they root for, right? I mean, they've seen that story a time or two with what the Mets do. And this Braves team is an experienced team. They have a veteran team. I know Matt Olson hasn't necessarily been a postseason guy because he's been with the A's, but I think he's kind of settling into being an Atlanta Brave, and this team plays with a lot of confidence. I mean, he went out last night and just obliterated the Cardinals in the first inning, batted around 5 runs, and you felt like that game was pretty much over at that point. And they have the ability to do that. And I think you watch them play, and it's not just the beating up on bad teams. If you want to win a World Series, then you know, if you want to win a World Series, you got to. If you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to beat the bad teams. If you want to win an NBA championship, you got to beat the bad teams. You can't get rolled by the Orlando Magic and talk about, hey, when we play the Magic and teams like that, it's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the games that you expect to win most of the time. And the Braves were doing that. And now what you got to say, now that they're playing teams that are good. Okay, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. I get it. That might be a team they roll up against come the postseason. Thought that was a very emotional series.
Yeah, I was about to say that was more theatrical. There's a lot of stuff going on with that one.
But I feel like they had a chance to win a couple of those games, and it got away from them. So they beat the Giants, who I think are very good. Could be a postseason team. They're beating the Cardinals right now, who has obviously still in good shape to be a postseason team. They beat the Phillies, who are right there in the wild card. They're behind the Braves, mind you, but they are in contention. If you look at the wild card standings as it sits right now, I think the Phillies will be the first team out of the playoffs. So they're right there. Look, I think the Braves are playing good against good teams now. You can't really say anything. They've pitched well for the most part. They've hit the ball well against good and bad teams, and they're still winning. 2.5 back. Objects in your rearview mirror, Mets, are closer than they appear. 100%.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen. They went from saying, "Hey man, what is it?" They're staying at our hotel. What are you talking about? Ronald Acuna Jr. was walking by me the other night to get some ice. And he did the little symbol. He did the little symbol they do when they be balling. What you mean? He said, quote, "We're coming." What? He said that to me in English. He said, "We coming." Kevin, but the thing is too, right? The Braves are the most dangerous team in baseball because they're built to do anything. They built to play with leads. They built to come back. They've never made the playoffs without winning the division, right? But let's face it. I don't know what the best division is in baseball. I can tell you what one of them is. The NL East is rough. I mean, the Mets are a really, really good franchise. Obviously, Strasburg, I think this might be a year that he's not going to be pitching, so the Nats are going to be hurt with that. The Phillies still got an all-star lineup. I mean, it ain't like the Marlins just be rolling over. So it's not like this division isn't a tough division. It's just the Braves are the class of the division. I mean, they really, really are. And every team, if you don't think the Braves are the truth, why look, DeGrom and Scherzer, why they go out against Scherzer? Why? Because they knew, hey, bro, we need something. What? Have you seen the Braves? Have you seen what they're doing? They won the World Series, and Ronald Acuna Jr. was hurt. What? Yes. Name a team that can do that. It ain't too many. And I'm sorry, Astros fans, but since there isn't a sale on trash cans, hasn't been much to say about y'all. And Kevin, could you imagine if that was the Braves? Though Braves finally make it to the World Series in that controversy, I do not believe it will be handled the same. I just don't care what nobody say. It would be everybody. They cheated. The Braves win it, and people think, oh, well, they didn't really play anybody. Come on, man.
We'll see. There's a lot of baseball left. Braves are certainly scrapping and clawing, and it's 2.5 games there in the East. We got a lot of college football to talk about. We're going to do that when we come back, as it changes by the day with what potentially could happen and what may happen. We'll break it down next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We're streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Love to hear from you on Twitter as well, at Pigskin Radio, also live video streaming. You can watch us there as well on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. ESPN Coastal on YouTube. And you can watch the show there while we're on or after the show, whichever you prefer. You can check it out there as well. We're talking college football next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, he has been Troop. Glad you're making us a part of your day. We'll chat with Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, coming up in hour number 2. We'll get his thoughts on what is happening around college football. And Ben, we'll start there with what is happening around college football. Obviously, UCLA and USC are gone. They're gone to the Big Ten. And then last Friday it was, hey, Notre Dame's the big nugget. We all know that. We all know Notre Dame, a team that has, at least football-wise, lived in independent land. They're in the ACC and everything else, but lived in independent land, was going to be the big nugget. Reportedly, and again, this is what is reported, Notre Dame said no to the Big Ten. Does that leave the SEC as an option? Could Notre Dame be trying to stay with the ACC and strengthen that conference? Might Notre Dame be doing what's best for college football and not in financial interest? I don't know. But, Ben, obviously Notre Dame is out there. If that is true, we've seen some people say, hey, maybe Notre Dame said no to the Big Ten. What are they doing? Right? I mean, if you're going to have consolidation potentially, do they stay independent? Looking at the landscape, obviously they are in a position. Ben, you talk about this all the time in pretty much every negotiation. It's, do you have leverage? Well, Notre Dame knows they can wait they can wait out everybody, right? As soon as the SEC comes out and says, hey, we're going to this number of teams, and that, okay, do you have a spot for us? We do. Okay, thanks. Like, they know they'll have a seat at the table regardless. What do you think happens? We'll just start there. What do you think happens with Notre Dame before we move on to other things like what in the world's going on? What do you think happens with them?
Notre Dame has to decide, Kevin, what they want their future to be, right? It's hard to tell anybody that moves according to how they want to move independently to say, I want to be a part of something. Because let's face it, Notre Dame don't need nobody. They really don't. I don't care what they're going to, 24 teams, super conference. They don't need anybody. They're the biggest brand in college football, and they move to the beat of their own drum. That being said, while they do have leverage to decide where they go and how they go, Kevin, they're going to have to decide, do we want to do this like this? Because 24, what we are when it's P5 ain't the same when it's P2, P3 maybe, and we're not a part of that. So them saying no to the Big Ten means I do think they want to be a part of a conference. Which one is the question? I think it's because if they want to be a part of ACC now, well, you didn't want to be a part of ACC the whole time was with ACC. I do think that Greg Sankey got a plan in place to get Notre Dame. Because Kevin, Notre Dame wants to put themselves in a position to where I'm still one of the biggest brands, even if I'm tied to a conference. What if they go to the SEC, right? I mean, outside of, okay, you got the Georgia, you got the Florida, you got the Tennessee, you got the Alabama, LSU, A&M, Texas, but Notre Dame is still the creme de la creme. Plus, I don't know what type of negotiating they're going to have to do, but I do think, Kevin, they're going to want to be a part of a conference. Because if it's about winning national championships or that could be why Brian Kelly went to LSU. Because he's going through, they're not going to, but look at all these moves. You got Lane Kiffin going to USC because you know the Big Ten is coming. You got a Brian Kelly who goes to LSU because he goes, dude, they crazy as hell up there in freaking South Bend. They're not going to budge. So, Kevin, for my money, I think they're going to want to be a part of a conference. But, and then again, when you your own powerful entity in a, with all these teams around you, that might be the question of the year because the Big Ten said, dude, we got USC and UCLA. That's cool, but we wanted Notre Dame, and Notre Dame said no. So we'll see what happens. But Kevin, like I said, if you used to moving your own way, and all of a sudden you under an umbrella, you got to move how the umbrella moves now. So we'll see. But I think that they might be the last domino to fall. Everything else might happen when we know the Big Ten is out. The Big 12.
I think whatever they do, it's going to signal the massive falling of dominoes. As you said, like. Once they move, the rest of them just fall. Like
they have to.
This is a giant game of Jenga, and there's one piece that nobody's moving. It's like that's the Notre Dame piece because if we pull that, the whole thing's falling. I mean, look, and I think that is very interesting to watch them, as you said, because you said something there that I found interesting where you're like, is it about winning national championships? I don't think for the fans, you'll say yes, but honestly, I don't think any of this is about winning national championships.
For head coaches, and that's the thing, right?
They didn't ask him.
Coach, maybe.
Maybe, but they did not ask him. They didn't go to Lincoln Riley and say, "Are you cool if you go to the Big Ten?" No, we're going to take the money. But I can't. It's harder to win a national championship. I don't care. $100 million. Figure it out. Like I don't think winning national championships. Nobody even cares about that right now. In moving all that. All right. So we got so much to get to, Ben. So then it comes out today that the Big 12. And this is amazing how this works, because the first thing you think is UCLA and USC. Okay, they're not going anywhere. Everybody's sitting back saying, boy, Oklahoma and Texas leaving. And you're adding UCF and Houston. Man, I don't know. Pac-12 is probably lessening itself. And then UCLA and USC leave, and people go, well, is the Pac-12 going to rip teams? Is the Big 12 even more done? And then you hear the Big 12 possibly could take 4 teams from the Pac-12: Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. Kind of the teams off the coast, if you will. And now you sit back and go, well, if that happens, who's left on the coast? Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, Washington State, Cal, and Stanford. Who's moving the needle over there? Phil Knight, that's about it at Oregon, and Nike. But you go from saying the Big 12 could be dead to, do they have enough pull to take 4 more teams from the Pac-12? Is the Big 12 more enticing now than the Pac-12? Could that actually happen, Ben?
Yes, the Big 12 is way more enticing than the Pac-12, because your 2 biggest hitters in the Pac-12 just left. The 2 biggest names, that's taking nothing away from Utah, who's defending Pac-12 champions, and Oregon, who's kind of held the Pac, who've been waving the flag for the Pac-12 for the last 2 or 3 years. Your 2 biggest names just left. Chip Kelly, and obviously Lincoln Riley. They're gone. They're gone. Sorry, Dan Lanning, but I know you didn't sign up for this when you went to Oregon, but the Big 12, this is what makes the Big 12 more intriguing than the Pac-12. People are still awake to watch the freaking games. I'm not waiting. The game of the week in the Pac-12. Is that at 7 o'clock? Yeah, that's at 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Well, we're going to move it back to 6. Well, now it's 9 on the East. No, so I think that, Kevin, what makes the Big 12 intriguing is let's call this what it is. There is a fandom that goes on in college football that at a certain part of America, it shuts off. Once you get past Oklahoma, that's it. Like, there isn't fandom in Arizona for college football. There isn't fandom in Oregon. There isn't fandom in California. I was out there when Andrew Luck was in college, and I could still get parking when he was. I said, dude, oh, yeah, you can still get parking. Palo Alto, yeah, it's fine. No, Kevin, this is about what part of the country does the college football dominate. If that's not the case, why are the 2 most prominent California schools in the Pac-12 coming to the Big Ten? I want to come where they actually care about college football a lot.
And the
money. The Big 12 is very much intriguing because, I'm sorry, didn't Oregon and freaking UW just call the Big Ten?
That's true.
So, of course it is. And the Big 12 is saying, hey, say what you want, man. I know our 2 big fish are leaving, but we're trying to salvage this thing. So if we can pull Arizona, they're telling Arizona State, do y'all want people to care about y'all brand of football? Y'all might want to bring y'all behinds over here, because they didn't care in the Pac-12. It has been proven they do not care about y'all in the Pac-12. They don't care about Utah, and they're the defending Pac-12 champs. So, yes, I do think the Big 12 is more intriguing. And, Kevin, I'm sorry. When you start talking about branding with anything, right? We from the South. We drink sweet tea. You know what they drink up north? Iced tea. That's dirty cold water. I don't want that. No. When I go up north and I ask for tea, I assume there's sugar in it. No. I go, what is that?
I think that's called nasty.
And then, exactly. And that's what I'm saying, Kevin. You want to be where you are celebrated. Period. That is college football. And if you're not, hey man, it's a game. It's a game in Arizona. Who? The Cardinals? No. You got the Wildcats. You got the Sun Devils. What? No. I'm sorry. So for me, yes, the Big 12 is saying, come over here with us. We still got some big enough brands. We don't got the brand names like we used to, but the Big 12 is a brand name. The Pac-12, I'm sorry, but we can't even keep our top dogs here anymore. They're gone because they want to stay relevant because the guy who's coaching at the biggest brand in the state came from Oklahoma. So he came from Big 12 country. So he understands what it's about. So yes, it's the Big 12 for me, Kevin. And once again, if they ain't calling your phone, your brand in your mind was bigger than maybe what you thought it was.
I mean, I think that, again, if this continues, there's going to be some teams left going, what just happened? And that could be in multiple conferences, by the way. Finally, Ben, I got to get to this because this was out there this morning. I think Dennis Dodd said, at least loosely, and why they're even doing this, I have no idea. Loosely, the ACC and Pac-12 have talked about an alliance where their champions could play in Las Vegas. What are you what are you talking about? If I'm Jim Phillips with the ACC, I'm going alliance. I said, boy, I sound like Jim Moore. Playoffs, alliance. That's what I'm saying. It's like play alliance. What are you talking about? Didn't you just make an alliance with the Big 12 and the Pac-12? Say, oh, we're going to have an alliance, and you couldn't stab people in the back fast enough, right? I mean, you said we out. Big Ten, like, hey, we don't care. I thought we were going to have an alliance. Nope, we're going. We're out. And now you're going to align with a weakened Pac-12. Who? How are they going to keep that thing together? They're looking at. I just look at it and say, what are you doing, ACC? Like, if I'm ACC, I'm like you've been trying to get Notre Dame, maybe one more team to try to come in and solidify yourself and say, hey, at least we're at 16. Try my best to keep UNC and Virginia Tech, Miami, Clemson, Florida State, whoever from taking phone calls, and say maybe we can make it a P3. But not if you're forming alliances with conferences that have, 10 teams in them right now? And reportedly, 6 of them are fielding phone calls and or making phone calls to try to go somewhere else? Like, I don't know what you're doing. And to me, that's the kind of stuff is like, you talked about having a commonality, Ben. I think that's how a lot of these conferences got started. Hey, we have a commonality. We have a similar academic direction. We have a similar thought process about the way athletics are to be perceived, the way we feel about athletics. We're going to form a conference and we'll work inside those confines so that we have similar missions, similar goals, and all that. And that's fine. What do you have in common with the Pac-12? Besides the fact that your universities and play sports, that's about it. Look, there's not one person, and the ACC stretches from Miami all the way up to Boston. There's not one person on the entire East Coast that's affiliated with the ACC. It's like, man, if only I could get some Oregon State love, that would make for great football. Mm-hmm. There's not one person. Well, there might be 2. But there's not more than 5 people that are saying, man, could we play Washington, please? Can we get a game with Cal? I would love to see it. Like, nobody's saying that.
When you gonna play this? Let's think about this. So what if Miami got to play UW? And they got to go. Either way is bad. Either if they got to go there or they got to come, it's gonna be. And this is another thing, Kevin. I mean, we talking about nothing screams desperation more than partner with somebody who's already. The Pac-12 is about to be obsolete if we really looking at this thing like. So he go, hey man, listen, hey man, we got one this week. Who we got? We got Washington State. Boy versus Wake Forest. What, man? This is gonna be.
And again, apparently it's loose talks, but I mean, I don't see that.
I get it, Kevin. What they're trying to do is, hey man, listen, these other ones they're trying to pull. How about we come together? Come together with what? Like, what are we coming together to do? What? I mean, the powerhouse known as the Arizona State. What, Sun Devils versus Duke? Like what are we talking about? And I think that the thing about the ACC is the ACC is trying to show the ACC has proven real similar to the Big Ten during the pandemic. Dude, y'all say a lot, but y'all don't do a lot. You can't even get Notre Dame to actually even play y'all in football, and they in the ACC in every other sport. So what if that's what happens though? What if Notre Dame says, "Hey, we'll stay in the ACC for other sports. We're gonna be in the SEC for football." What they gonna do?
Yeah.
I don't know if they can do that, but yes, Kevin, you know, just like Kevin, look, we're not privy to these conversations, but we've been doing this a little while. When people do things, we should be able to find the silver lining in this. And I've been trying to find the silver lining with this Pac-12. I said, is this even news? Get this off my feed. What is this? The Pac-12 and the ACC are about to come together. Come together and do what though?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I get it. They want to come together and do what?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what they're going to do. And again, that's loose talks. I don't think that's going to stay. But I saw that was my first thought is to do what? We'll come back. More college football talk because, again, it's changing by the minute. And how do you keep this what it is? Is the golden goose being beat upside the head right now? It's not dead, but it might lose consciousness in a minute. We'll talk about it. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you are with us. Thanks for making us a part of your day. College football changing all the time. And I know there are people that say, look, just adapt and move on. Quit being one of those old talking heads that says, oh, it's ruining college football. Ben, we hear that all the time. Oh, it's ruining college football. But I think it's also a mistake for an entity, a league, or whatever to say to have that posture that you can never ruin it. And I've often wondered that about the NFL because you see the case, you see people kind of around the NFL have that era of there's nothing we could do to ruin this. It's always going to be the biggest. It's going to be the best. There's so much interest, and there's no way we can ruin it. And I think for a lot of ways, the NFL doesn't go around changing a whole lot of stuff that would get people upset. College football, you start moving UCLA and USC to the Big Ten, and people are going, wait, what? Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC. Business-wise, sounds great. A lot more money. It's good for my wallet. I'm speaking as a conference commissioner now, of course. It doesn't help Kevin's wallet. But it's good for the wallet. But you do hear from a lot of fans, Ben. You said, look, I played in a 12-team SEC. And you've had fans for years and years and years saying, look, I want to play Auburn. I want to play Alabama. I like LSU. I like seeing the Mississippi schools. I like Tennessee, Florida. I like Tennessee, Georgia. The backyard rivalries, the people we know. Alabama and Auburn fans yelling at each other. Auburn, Tennessee fans yelling at each other. Even if for a lesser extent, Arkansas and South Carolina, who have been in the league since the 90s, but they've been there a while, it's contained in the Southeast, and they all play each other. And we hate everybody else in college football, but it's SEC. It just means more. Well, you keep expanding the neighborhood. Does it mean as much to Texas A&M? I mean, they certainly embrace it. But now you're going to bring in Oklahoma and Texas, Ben. And I hear people saying, look, I've heard a lot of SEC fans say this. Don't really care much about Texas and Oklahoma. Not that they don't understand it. Not that they don't look at it and say, yeah, they're cash cows. Not that they don't have huge fan bases. Not that they aren't business-wise an asset to the conference. But I feel like most fans are like, I don't care to play Texas, but every once in a while, not like every year type thing. Like to go to Austin, great. Road trip. Did it once, don't need to do it again. You know, one of those kind of things. Like, would it be special to play Notre Dame? I think Georgia fans thought it was. Do they want to play Notre Dame every year? No. They want Notre Dame. So Ben, when you come down to this, like, you're losing a lot of regionality, which I think made college football what it was. Because you got a few marquee matchups. They didn't happen all the time. You know, Alabama doesn't go out there and play Michigan every year. If it happened in a bowl game, all right, it was kind of fun. Now we'll go back to playing the schedule. But the Big Ten, kind of contained there in the Northeast, similar schools, Michigan, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, they all go back and forth. Then you start bringing in schools like Nebraska, and you're going, what? Does anybody in Ann Arbor give two rips about going to Lincoln, Nebraska, and or even playing the University of Nebraska? Maybe when it was, you know, for a championship or a bowl game every once in a while, but like, do you need Nebraska rolling on the schedule every single year? I think you lose a little something when you get that. Again, outside of it being a name, who in the Big Ten after about the first year or two is going to be like, all right, Southern Cal again. I always enjoy playing those guys. I think what makes it good is you go to the ball games, Ben, and there's a dude sitting next to you in the seat wearing the opposing jersey, same region of the country. You go, man, I hope we beat y'all today. And he says, you know what? I hope we beat y'all today. And then you go have a beer after the game. Not, hey, I flew across country to be here. Nobody wants to do that. And so can you ruin that? That's what I worry about if it does come to fruition of a P2, where you just have 30 teams and then the ones on the outside are like, what are we doing? Why are we here? And then you have all these matchups that by and large are good in a playoff setting, but people don't really give a rip about if it happens every single year.
Well, Kevin, the old me would have said yes, it's going to be ruined, right? But I've learned a lot. As I get older, and Kevin, that's what we really do on the radio every day, because we shape narratives, right? Like, think about it, Kevin. I'm pretty sure you get this. People see Kevin Thomas out, and instead of saying, "Hey, Kevin is," so you really think that the Braves gonna be like, they want to give their take. Like they say, if I see Kevin, I'm gonna give him my take. It is now either you're gonna say, "I don't know," or you're gonna kind of go back and forth with him. The reason why I know it's not going to end college football, because that's what certain people do. This is the end, supposed to be the end with NIL, right? It's supposed to be the end. Well, I graduated high school in 2000. I remember the world was supposed to come to an end in 2000. People buying sardines and all kinds of stuff. That's it. I done seen all this. Kevin, no. We get to say we were around when this happened. We went from 12 teams in the SEC to 14. Now you finna go to 16. Where were you when, quote, they went to? Because, Kevin, this is what's really happening now is they don't want to share the money with everybody. They're saying, "Hey, dude, some of y'all ain't worth this money." And Vanderbilt, like, "Shut up, Vanderbilt. Y'all good. We get y'all." But what it is
taking all that too.
But what it is though, Kevin, is I think what's happening in college football is somebody came up with a model called amateurism, and they never factored in TV deals and all. They couldn't see that stuff way back then, and now, dude. They're saying, okay, the SEC doesn't care about Texas, Oklahoma because they're not in the SEC. You bring them over there, they're going to care about it because they're a part of it. Like, the SEC embraces things. We embrace the Egg Bowl. We embrace the Iron Bowl. We embrace, Auburn, Georgia, and Florida. You embrace those things. We all, listen, to those people, to those of us out there who are married, who have wives and spouses, we're a blended family now, meaning you don't got to like everybody. Hell, not only do you not like everybody on your wife's side, you don't even like everybody on your side. But we're one family, right? We're one family.
I get it.
And Kevin, it's like look at what some of these schools are going to bring to Texas and Oklahoma. Is a huge brands, huge brands. And I just think that now, Kevin, what we get a chance to do now is hopefully be a part of it. But yes, it's not ruining college football to those people who think it's going to ruin it.
We'll come back. We'll see if it's ruined or not. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you along here, 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, a lot of college football we're talking about. Next hour, I will chat with Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast. Also, Rich Styles will talk some golf with us as, again, we debate college football and the traditions and all the things that, Ben, we feel made it great. And if these things are going by the wayside, I think the SEC, it just means more. That was built on the tradition in that fabric. We got about 20 seconds, Ben.
Kevin, if you think it's bad now, if you tired of hearing it just means more now, just imagine you're hearing hook 'em and whatever the hell they say in Oklahoma, sick 'em out. I don't even know what they say, sick 'em sooner or whatever.
They say boomer sooner.
Boomer
Boomer
sooner,
sooner, yeah.
boomer sooner, and hook 'em and whatever the hell. Get ready for it because it is coming.
We'll take 3 when we come back. Rich Styles, Chris Gordy going to join us in hour 2. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Love to hear from you on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. We are streaming live ESPNCoastal.com and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, ESPN Coastal on YouTube. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on this Wednesday. We got a lot to get to here in hour number 2. Rich Styles back, Nine Boys Golf Show will join us coming up in about 15 minutes. Also, Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, will join us. We'll talk all things college football. Is the SEC done with expansion? Are they simply positioning for the next move, whoever makes it in college football? So we'll get his thoughts on that coming up here this hour of 3 and Out. Ben, it's 4 o'clock. Let's take 3 here on this Wednesday. All right, we will start at the very beginning, which is always a very good place to start. Take 1, Carolina. Just traded for Baker Mayfield, Ben. Can they win with Baker Mayfield at quarterback?
Oh yeah, they can win some games. They're just not going to win the games that matter. They're not going to the playoffs. They're not a team that's going to be factoring in, Kevin, not just in the NFC South. They still going to be bottom feeders, trying to make sure they're not the worst team in the division, competing against an Atlanta team who, to me, I still got a chance to beat them. Baker Mayfield is he's a huge question mark, right? When he first came number 1 overall, the first walk-on to win a Heisman as well as go number 1 overall. When he went to Cleveland, I was thinking, okay, he's good, but he's coming from a system in Oklahoma that, you know what happened a year after that? Oh, Kyler Murray won the Heisman and went number 1 overall. You know what happened there? Jalen Hurts went up there and had, I think, was a Heisman Trophy finalist. So that system that Lincoln Riley was doing worked for a lot of people. Baker Mayfield had 2 of everything. He had 2 running backs. He had 2 incredible receivers. He had 2 tight ends, and he won 1 playoff game. I'm sorry, you going to a Panthers team with a receiver in Robbie Anderson that literally put hell no when he saw that you was going to get picked up some months ago. While he's better than what they got there, Kevin, that doesn't mean he makes them better. Of course, he's better than Sam Darnold. Of course, he's better than Cam. Of course, he's better than PJ Walker. And that ain't saying much for a guy who former number 1 overall pick supposed to be re-signing with the team that drafted them. Not the Cleveland Browns are literally playing him to get the hell on. Get up out of here. We're going to pay you. So, Kevin, can he win games? Yes. Is anybody scared of Baker? The Carolina Panthers went from Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, Cam Newton to Baker Mayfield. What the hell going on in Carolina? Like, they can't find a quarterback. So, sorry, Kevin, but no, he's not good. They're not going to win with him. They just bringing him over because they don't got to pay him that much.
Well, and again, I know when I say can they win, I don't mean win a Super Bowl. Obviously, it takes time to build a team, but I would just say when I say that, I mean kind of can they win more games than you expected them to with Baker Mayfield. Short term, I don't know. I will say no, and I think long term they're not going to win with him either. I tend to agree with you. Yet how many number 1 picks, high first round draft picks there in Cleveland? He's still. I know you're in a tough division, but I mean, Joe Burrow played in that same tough division. They got through.
Yeah, they made it to the Super Bowl. So Joe Burrow went to a Super Bowl. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the class of the freaking division. Lamar Jackson's already won a regular season MVP in his second year and won a playoff game. And, well, there's the Browns. So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
Maybe he'll benefit from not being on the Browns.
He's definitely going to get to breathe a little bit and say, okay, I'm in a different place. But then he's going to start looking around and saying, okay, outside of Robbie Anderson, who really going to don't even want me here as a quarterback, and, Christian McCaffrey, they don't really got a lot of work with that offense. We'll see what happens, man. But you want to be somewhere where you celebrate it. We'll see. He might turn out being a pretty good quarterback. But as of right now, the jury is out on him.
Now, that being said, they may be better at quarterback than the Falcons are, but we'll talk about that later. Take 2, Ben. Which conference, and given all the change that has happened out there, which conference should be the most worried at the moment with so much kind of up in the air about college football?
ACC, because I don't know if they're going to get Notre Dame to come back. Like, I know the Big 12 is still trying to salvage itself of who they're going to keep back, Oklahoma State, TCU, Baylor. I get that. But, Kevin, just like I know, the ACC has had a problem with Notre Dame since Notre Dame has declared to win the ACC. Like, are you? Well, we are in every other sport, not in football. So the ACC, because the ACC is screaming desperation by saying, man, we're going to have an alliance with the Pac-12. But what the hell does that mean? Like, did you wake me up out of my sleep and tell me that? Like, think about that, Kevin. It's like, so not only do you not know if Notre Dame is going to stay with you, you're going to partner with a Pac-12 that has who? I mean, Oregon, I get it. Utah, okay. UW, maybe. But it's too many. It's too many. Colorado State, Washington State, Arizona. It's too many. What in the world is going on when you talk about, when you talk about the Pac-12? So for me, it is the ACC because the ACC is very, 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 very top heavy. And when I say that, I mean Clemson. Then you start talking about the brands that was supposed to be good by now. Like, I don't know, Miami, North Carolina. So I do think that while you got some big brands in the ACC, if Notre Dame does not come to the ACC, they go over to the SEC, Greg Sankey gonna have to get a trap phone because this regular phone gonna be blowing up. So I do think, Kevin, for me, it is the ACC because the reason why I say it is because Big 12, they care about football, not like they care about it in the ACC, though, because of location. So give me the ACC.
I think the one that should be worried the most is the Pac-12. Again, you just lost Southern Cal and UCLA, and you know at least 6 of the remaining schools are at least listening or actively seeking to be somewhere else.
No.
I mean, Oregon and Washington, I know people are talking about, hey, we want Oregon and Oregon State to be a package deal. We need Washington and Washington State to be a package deal. No, we don't. So I think you're looking at Stanford and Cal. I mean, if the Big 12's doing what they're supposed to do. They're saying, hey, we're looking at Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah, and maybe bringing them into the fold. Why not? So if you got 6 of the teams left and Ben – disloyalty is only a phone call away, as we know, right? Hey, are we all together in this? Oh, yeah, we're good. Hold on a second. Hold a second. Now my phone's ringing. About that loyalty, the Big 12 said, we can come over there and make more money. So we're out. To me, it's the Pac-12 because your 2 biggest schools got poached. At least half of your conference got wandering eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And who are you going to bring in to make them stay? Who can you grab to make them stay? Are you going to flip the Big 12 and say we're going to take Oklahoma State and Baylor and they're going to come to the Big? Is that enough to make them stay? If Oregon and Washington get a Big 10 phone call, they're out.
No.
So where can you go? At least the ACC can say, hey, Pac-12, at least we have 14 members. Kind of 15 wink, wink. But, at least we have that. Going in our favor. To me, the conference that should be the most worried is the Pac-12. You have the lowest TV rights deal. You just lost your 2 big draws, and you got wandering eyes all over the conference. I think they should be very, very worried. All right, Ben, coming off of July 4th weekend, this is take 3. I'm interested to hear your answer here because I feel like a lot of people's answers change over the course of their life, and it's unfortunate. Do you still enjoy fireworks?
I do. Once again, being a country boy, man, this fireworks word came up when I lived in the Northeast. We firecrackers down south where I'm from. But I will say this. Firecrackers or fireworks have gotten pretty freaking explosive or impressive over the years. Like, Kevin, now, I grew up to where you had the itty bitty little. It was really, really small. It didn't have that long. And it don't take that long to light on fire. Right? Then you had like the little screamers. You had the little red stick, and you light it and you throw it, pow. Then you always got the sparklers, right?
Yeah.
Then you had a family that really know what the hell they was doing, and they'll kind of be the ones. Oh, let's go to their house. Let me tell you something, people. People making a little bit more money these days. Some of us want to show off too much. Look. When you go get your fireworks, a firework is another name for an explosive. That's what it is. AKA will blow your stuff up. AKA, if you look, when you go and buy them, and the guy eyes light up and say, hey, you want this one? Now, this one right here, it could, hey, you better look. No, ask what the warnings are, because some of these videos I'm looking at, what are we doing? Like, some of us ain't never lit a firecracker or firework in our life. Hey, you got the fire? Yeah, I got it. No, he don't, because he don't know. Hey, man, do this supposed to be aimed this way or do it supposed to be aimed this way? I don't know. Well, you need to know, because it's gonna shoot out. Kevin, I'm still a fan of them, but it's almost like people trying to see just how big of a boom they can make. Listen, if you don't know what you're doing, leave it alone, because people say, what's the worst that could happen? A lot.
Yeah.
This video that's going around, I don't know what neighborhood this is in. I don't know who these people are, but I put it on my Twitter feed. The HOA is going to have a field day with these people because they're gonna say, Kevin, you know how it is? Somebody say, all right, you can shoot them, but it better not do this. It better not do that. Look, I still love them. I'm still gonna be a fan of them. But certain things are worth just watching. You don't always got to be a willing participant, especially if you don't know what the hell you're doing or what the hell you like.
Yeah. No, I saw the video. Basically, their whole back, their car caught on fire because the explosive. No, I enjoy fireworks. I was more, you took it a different direction, which is fine. I was more wanting the reaction of like, as you get older, do you become a stick in the mud? No, pun intended, where people are like, oh, it's the 4th of July and people are going to be having fun outside shooting off fireworks. And it's 9 o'clock and I just want to go to sleep. Stop. At one point, you were a fun person.
Yes.
Now you are a boring person.
Yes.
You don't want to go outside and enjoy things.
Yes.
Fireworks are fun. It's a couple of nights a year. That's all I'm saying.
You said this, Kevin, as we get older, and I'm talking to the men. I'm talking to us directly. You ain't going to have a lot of fun stuff left, young man. You better savor what you got because you start giving away stuff. You giving away stuff like you're adding stuff. No. Kevin might not like triple fudge, but he eats ice cream.
It doesn't exist. No, look.
Kevin might not like bowl games, but he likes the one in Vegas because that's his. We don't get a lot of stuff. And Kevin, that's what it really is. Is look, this is what this is. This third question was really this. What Kevin is really asking is, how close are you to becoming your dad?
No, I enjoy fireworks.
Because as soon as you say, when you say this, cut that music down, you sound like your dad. Man, pull them pants up. When you got on suspenders and a belt, you only need one. You don't need both.
It is funny, man.
But Kevin, yes, I am. Listen. We all now, we almost had a little mishap at the Troop household. Well, my kids got the hell out of the way. They saw it, boom, gone, scattered. but at the same time, too, though, Kevin, is it just me though? Aren't the fireworks getting crazy? It's like, dude, like
they are 100%. They are getting crazy. Like there's stuff that you buy and like people come back from the store and you're like, that's a suitcase. They're like, yeah, you just light it on this end and it goes off for 10 minutes. It's like, all right. But no, I enjoy fireworks. I know there's a lot of people who like to get on social media and say, it's 10 o'clock at night and we're still shooting off fireworks. Well, yeah. It has to be dark outside.
I'm sorry. One night out of 365 nights, you got to stay. Calm down.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody's doing it. Did they leave? Did they keep you up last night? They kept the whole city up because the whole city was doing it.
My dogs are barking. They don't like the fireworks.
Kevin, can you hear that? Yes, because we're doing it. What do you want?
The fireworks aren't made for your dog. I'm sorry.
If you call the police on somebody for shooting fireworks, they should put you in jail. I'm saying it right now. That's ridiculous.
Go outside, enjoy them.
Enjoy your life.
Exactly.
Enjoy. Listen, if you are calling the police on people for the 4th of July, now, for them people that burn their house up, you need to call the fire department. You don't need to call the police. You need to call people that can help them. But I'm just saying, stop with you. Listen, fun police. Stop it. Stop it.
I will say, Ben, that is one of the big advantages of being a dad as you get older, as you go from a boy to a young man, is you get to light the fireworks. You go from watching everybody.
You hit them with that backup.
Yeah, back up. I got
it. Listen, and you read that label, like, let me make sure which way I'm supposed to do this.
Which end am I supposed to light this thing? That's take 3. We do it every day. This time we're coming back. We're talking some golf with Rich Styles of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC Podcast, will join us in about 20 minutes. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here. It is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a little bit part of your afternoon. Chris Gordy will join us coming up in just a little bit. But the Open Championship, the British Open, what have you, whatever you would like to prefer to call it, is coming up next week. Tiger Woods making some comments about whether or not he is going to play next week or not. So all that and more. We bring you our next guest, Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Rich, good afternoon. How's it going?
Well, it's going fine. I am actually on this side of the pond with you guys.
Hey, well, we appreciate you hopping over this. Tiger Woods sounding off, and some people maybe, I mean, we would never overread into what's happening with Tiger Woods, but Tiger Woods making a statement saying, look, I didn't play the U.S. Open because I wanted to be able to play in the Open Championship at a historic venue in St. Andrews. And then he said, I want to have one more run at it while I can still play at a high level. What do you read into those comments? Some people saying, is this the last Open Championship? I mean, I know it's at St. Andrews, historic venue for golf. What did you make of those comments there by Tiger?
Well, I think the comments are that, I'm pretty sure that he's not totally bought into the fact that he's going to be able to play and be able to play the way he would like to play. Tiger is very, very competitive, and if he can't be competitive, he would probably pull out. And, I think his body is still not back to where he would like it in order to play at the Open at St. Andrews, even though it's an easier walking course than he's had in the past two times that he's been out. But personally, I saw him in this Pro-Am on Monday and Tuesday, and I don't think he looked great as far as health-wise. He didn't look like he was enjoying himself. He shot over par both rounds. He may have been just going through the motions, but he may have been checked out just saying, I don't really care what I shoot. But, I think Tiger's really in a mindset of, I've got to be able to play at the highest caliber that I can, and I'm not sure that my body is going to be able to give me that confidence that I need.
And Rich, even sticking with Tiger, you mentioned that you had a chance to see him play. He didn't look like himself. And I know there's a difference. What does Tiger Woods mean when he says, I want to look like myself? And what does that look like to the fans? I know he has a different perception of himself, but what do you think he needs to look like himself? And what do you think the fans going to see when he's out there?
Well, I think when he's walking, I'm not sure that I see the confidence and the Tiger strut, so to speak, that we've seen in the past, when he's out on a golf course. I think he's walking very gingerly, so to speak, bending over a little bit, sometimes getting down into, looking at a putt the correct way. But I just don't think his body, when he walks and when he swings, I think he's still holding back, trying to protect, pushing off that right leg that was injured in the car accident, quite a while ago. So I'm just not sure that he looks to me like the Tiger of the past.
And Rich, obviously, this is ultimate speculation, but might it be his last major tournament? Obviously, he's getting closer to 50 than he is 40, right? So. Physically, he's basically not played outside of the majors, right, to get himself ready. Is this a situation where he's doing what he can, but he just, when he makes comments like, while I can still play at a high level, I want to be at a place like St. Andrews, is that kind of foreshadowing that maybe he's thinking about something in the not too distant future?
I think it's a very good possibility. Tiger wants to play competitively. He wants to play well. He wants to be in the hunt. He wants to be in competition. And unfortunately, he's not. His body is, maybe get him through the first 2 days to make a cut, which I think is a phenomenal effort. But then on the weekend, he just kind of falters because his body, kind of gives out, so to speak. And, he starts to have that limp, and that limp gets worse on Saturday. And if there is such a word, worser on Sunday. And I don't know. Tiger always surprises all of us. He's come back from things that we never thought he would come back from. I never thought we'd see him back on a golf course this year, to be quite honest with you. But he has come back. He's made both cuts that he's played in the tournaments. But, he's just not been as strong as I think he would like to be. And I'm sure this is not the way that Tiger would like to go out for his career, by pulling out of another major or not being able to finish like he wants to.
And Rich, speaking of majors, Ian Poulter. I mean, he actually won a case to allow him to play in the DP World Tour. I mean, filed it, won it. Do you see that happen with the PGA, with so many guys being prohibited to play in certain tournaments? Do you see them kind of like taking taking the PGA to court to try to say, look, man, I've earned my pro card. You don't just get to snatch it away because you don't like certain decisions I've made.
Well, I think definitely a court is going to be in session, so to speak. I definitely feel that there are more that are going to try and challenge this stance by the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan. Where it goes after that, it's up to anybody. It probably, like everything else, when you go to court, it just depends on your lawyers and the facts that they're able to bring up. And what we don't know is the contract that they signed with the PGA Tour, what it entails in the small print in Section 5, A, B, and C. We don't know all of that, so they may be violating their contract with the PGA Tour. Maybe that's why some of them have resigned the PGA Tour, so they're not a member of the PGA Tour anymore, to give them free rein to play in the LIV Tour. I mean, there's just a lot of factors that we really don't know, a lot of speculation, a lot of finger pointing. A lot of guys, like Billy Horschel, just getting upset that the guys that went to the LIV Tour. There's a lot of guys out there that think that it shouldn't happen. And but if you put somebody in a position where you say, I'll offer you 10 times what you make today, and you can work 1/3 less or 2/3 less for a fact, not many would say no, not caring where the money comes from.
Rich, when you talk about that, it seems in just reading a lot of articles and things that are covering the PGA Tour, it seems like there's a lot of angst out there about this, and that I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Rory or Justin Thomas one, I can't remember, who said, look, if you sue the PGA Tour, you're suing me. You're suing everybody that plays out here. It seems like this has caused a great divide here amongst the players who have elected to go play elsewhere and the players that remain there on the PGA Tour. Is that is that how you kind of see this thing is going, where now you have a lot of them coming together to play the Open Championship next week, and a great divide in kind of their thoughts on how this is all playing out?
Oh, I think most definitely. I mean, a lot of them have been critical of the PGA Tour since they've signed on with the LIV Tour. And I think that's wrong. I mean, I really do. I think, you shouldn't, criticize or talk down to or, say mean things to an organization that has made you a multimillionaire several times over and given you a lifestyle that is many of us will never have. And I think that is one of the reasons why some of the guys are drawing a line on the sand, and kind of saying, look, you're on that side, we're on this side, we're still a member of this tour, and their family, we belong to it. And if you go over there and you don't want to come over on our side, then I don't want anything to do with you, and our relationship is going to be strained. I can see that, and I hear that in some of the comments from some of the PGA Tour players. Yes, I think it eventually is going to end up in court. And as I've said over the last few weeks, the biggest thing I think we still don't know is, will the LIV Tour be approved in order to get world ranking points? If they don't, many of these players that have gone over there will not be able to earn their way into another major.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see it all play out. And if they do get world golf ranking points, I guess at that point it's game on, right? I mean, it's if you keep them out at that point, it's lawsuit city, right?
Well, it's kind of that way, but they're not going to get as many world ranking points even if they are approved, because they're playing a 54-hole tournament compared to a 72-hole tournament. So, there's still a lot of things out there, and they may have to play more. And I don't know where they're going to play, because a lot of the tournaments, the DP, and even though they've been sued and some of the players are playing, I just think there's more to come. And the final chapters are yet to be written, and we don't know all the details as yet.
Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, our guest. We'll talk Open Championship more in depth next week when it arrives. Rich, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Thanks for calling.
Appreciate it. Rich Stiles, host of the Back Nine Boys Golf Show, Saturday and Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. And Tiger Woods been saying, look, I want to make a run at it while I can still play at a high level. I mean, he's made some comments that make it seem like while I can still move, I want to give it a shot because I know that leg has been bothering him. And a lot of people have made reference to, hey, he doesn't look like he's moving good, out there on the golf course. Could we, and it's speculation, but I've seen a lot of people say, could this be the last one? Might he finish up the year? And if he's not any better, say, look, that's it. Very interesting to see how this plays out with Tiger.
Kevin, I mean, Tiger Woods is the reason why you watch golf. Tiger Woods is the exception to the rule. And I think Tiger Woods is trying to live up to his own persona. But there are certain people that you just give them the benefit of the doubt. But Father Time is undefeated. I know LeBron and guys like Tom Brady have something different to say about it. But if Tiger Woods is no longer intimidating when he steps on a golf course, he's not Tiger Woods. He's still himself, but is he intimidated? Is the rest of this tournament shaking in their boots because of who he is? I think that's what he's trying to get back to.
We've got more to come. We're talking college football when we come back. Chris Gordy, Locked on the SEC podcast. Is SEC expansion done? We'll talk to him about that next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. College football is in an ever-changing state. It is just every single day, it's something new, a new rumor, who's going where, who's doing what. And it's just been a crazy, maddening time out there. And joining us here on the program from the Locked On See podcast, Chris Gordy joins us here on 3 and Out. Chris, welcome. How are you?
Hey, doing good, guys. It's crazy times in college football.
I mean, what is going on next? And again, I guess that's the only thing you could say is we know Texas, Oklahoma is coming. USC and UCLA are leaving the West Coast Pac-12 to go to the Big Ten. Like you keep hearing talks about super conferences, a P2. What the heck's going on here, Chris? What do you think this ultimately, are we going to sit still for a few years or where's this going?
I mean, we are full metal to the pedal to the metal, full steam ahead, like to ruin everything we like about college football, all in the name of money. I mean, that's where we are right now, and it's all about money, and it has nothing to do with pageantry or tradition or anything. We're selling our souls for the big money of college football, for TV contracts and all that kind of stuff. And I just feel like we're overreacting and nobody's taking a step back, taking a deep breath and saying, is this what's best for college football? I mean, I saw this idiotic idea floated out there today that, hey, the ACC and the Pac-12 could form together and or pair up and do a championship game. For what? Like, is that just for a fun thing, or is that going to be crowning a quote national champion? Like, I'm confused by everything. None of it makes sense. Look, the SEC wanted to expand. They kind of saw a little bit ahead of this. But adding Oklahoma, Texas makes sense. It makes sense geographically. UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten makes zero sense geographically. Like, are you really going to have Rutgers travel out to Los Angeles twice a year to go play them in football? Or what about the other sports, basketball and baseball? It makes no sense geographically. And by the way, I don't know if you guys have ever seen those equipment trucks and how long it takes to load them up and send them to on the road, but going from New Jersey out to Los Angeles ain't exactly an overnight trip. So there's just so many things here involved, guys. It rubs me the wrong way. I know it's about money, and I know it's about trying to get these TV dollars and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, a lot of this just does not make sense for the health of college football.
And Chris, even sticking with that, I mean, you mentioned how, you talk about Texas and Oklahoma. Everybody understood why Texas and Oklahoma want to come over to the SEC, even with Greg Sankey being the most powerful man in college sports. But you mentioned USC and UCLA coming to the Big Ten because obviously Lincoln Riley was sold a bill of goods saying, look, we're not going to be here, man, so you can come over here. Who's getting left out in this thing? I know the Big Ten is getting better. I know the ACC is getting stronger. What conference should be very, very, very nervous that we may be seeing the last of them?
Well, I like to compare it to, it's kind of like, when you used to go to the bar in college and it'd be 1:45 a.m. and the lights are starting to come on, everybody's starting to scramble. All right, who's my friend for the night? Who am I hanging out with tonight? I mean, that's kind of what's happening here is the lights are coming on and everybody's left scrambling, and suddenly you have you look around these other conferences, the Big Ten's going to succeed, the SEC's going to succeed. But I think the ACC's looking around at themselves going, all right, who's going to be the first to jump ship here? Same thing with the Pac-12, with USC and UCLA jumping ship. If Oregon and a few others jump ship, I think the Pac-12 ceases to exist. I think right now the Big 12, they put a plan in motion. They said we're going to add Cincinnati and Houston and BYU, and, we feel pretty good about our expansion. But, man, what if Baylor and Texas Tech jump ship, or Kansas? I mean, we're literally talking about these other conferences crumbling, and it's just going to be a big two of the SEC and the Big Ten if they decide to go to 20 teams. But my whole thing with that is, what's the point of even calling it a conference once you get to 20 teams? The point of a conference is that everybody plays one another, and you play for a common goal. You have 20 teams. I mean, you're not playing each other every year in football. It doesn't make sense. So, again, I'll be really interested to see, to answer your question, the next domino to fall is going to be who jumps ship next. And, man, if we start hearing rumblings of North Carolina and Florida State or Clemson dumping the ACC, man, that could be the next one to fold. But I think that's where all our attention is right now, is which of these big Power Five conferences is going to be the first to completely fold. And I think we've at least seen the first domino with UCLA and USC leaving the Pac-12. And can they rebound? Can they add 2 teams to replace them and remain a conference?
Yeah, and you're hearing, maybe the Big 12 looking at Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. So it could be decimated really quickly. And again, I get it. Everybody, it is about the money, Chris. We've talked about this before, but in your estimation, who is looking out for college football? Is there anybody, or is it all just bigger, more money? Like, is there anybody that you think is actually looking out for the health of college football, college athletics at this point?
Well, it's supposed to be this thing named an NCAA commissioner, but as we've known, Mark Emmert has been a big fat no-show from everything to COVID to expansion to everything, and he even puts out there, "Hey, I'm going to be leaving this job very soon anyway." I mean, we've had spineless leaders at the top of the NCAA, and nobody willing to put a foot down. I think Greg Sankey's been a good leader and commissioner of the SEC, but at the end of the day, his best interest is looking out for the SEC. It's not necessarily what's best for all college football. So it's a little sad from that standpoint. I mean, look, if the SEC is not going to go anywhere, they're going to continue to thrive. But if we end up with a 20-team SEC and they're just all going to play each other for a crown a champion of the SEC and that's it, we're not playing. I just think that's going to be a really sad day for college football and rivalries and pageantry and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. It's sad. But to your point, yeah, there is nobody. I mean, there is no leader that's looking out for what's best for college football as a whole.
Chris, when you think about a team like UCLA and teams like UCLA and USC, obviously they were a package deal. Texas, Oklahoma was a package deal. Big Ten wanted Notre Dame. Notre Dame said no. What, is there a team out there that in their mind they're a bigger brand than what they are? Because if you're not going to be a part of the conference that you want to be a part of, if you're not getting calls from these commissioners, who could be on the outside looking in when this thing is all said and done with no conference to be attached to?
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I mean, Notre Dame thinks they're bigger than everybody. That's why they won't join a conference. That's why they've been one foot in, one foot out. In the Big Ten, the ACC, and all these other, they play all these games throughout the years, but they never want to join conference because of the TV contract. I mean, it rubbed me the wrong way when I saw that Texas and Oklahoma are coming to the SEC, but Texas was hanging on for dear life with the Longhorn Network, and now Oklahoma announced an exclusive rights deal with ESPN Plus, where they're going to stream all of Oklahoma sporting events. I'm going, wait a minute, don't we already have this, part of the SEC network package, and you want to join the SEC? So again, a lot of people are just looking out for themselves. They're looking out for their best interests. But, yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame's the big one that if they decided to join the Big Ten, man, I think you'd see a couple more people follow suit and start to say, okay, we're really starting to get some movement here because they are such a big brand. But, again, that TV contract that they get from NBC, they don't want to share that with anybody. They want to keep that for themselves. So, yeah, it's interesting. I'll be curious to see. But, who are some other schools that could branch off and maybe do, go independent? There's been talk that Clemson, could do that. They don't need the ACC. They've dominated the ACC for many years now, but I don't know. I'll be real curious to see who the next big dog to jump ship will be.
Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, our guest. I know you said you don't want to see it there, but I mean, we keep hearing a lot of talk, a lot of smoke about that. Is it eventually 20-team super conferences? Could there be a P3? Do you get the 3 20-team conferences that gives you basically a top 60? Is that where we're headed at the end of the day, despite people saying, oh, we're happy here? I mean, at the end of the day, are we ending up with 2 mega conferences, maybe a third one, and that's it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounds like we're trending towards. I mean, Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated has talked about that for some time, and it seems like it's going to be the big power conferences. Again, I just don't know how that works in, for basketball scheduling purposes. I guess it could work. Everybody just plays everybody once, and we'll spread them out. With baseball, maybe the same thing too. You'll try to play as many opponents as possible, but I just don't understand with football when you only have a 12 weeks to do it, and if you're going to eliminate non-conference altogether, great, but you can't play 20 teams all in one season. It just it's not going to work, and so then you get into the idea of, oh, some schedules aren't as balanced as others. We run into that right now when sometimes with the crossover opponents in the East and the West, there's been years where Alabama's played Tennessee and Vanderbilt in the East, and LSU's played Georgia and Florida in the East, and it just like that's not an equal schedule. So again, I hate it. I'm not a fan of it. If it's where we go, that's where we go, and I guess that's we got to just accept it. But again, I just think it's ridiculous. For me, I'd rather subtract. Like instead of add, why don't we look and say, look, Vanderbilt, we appreciate you. Thanks for bringing up the conference GPA, but we might move on from you. South Carolina, hey, we appreciate you. You've done been a great addition for several years in the SEC, but we're going to move on and replace you with Texas and Oklahoma. Like I would rather look at replacing than just adding.
I mean, Chris, you bring up a good point with something like that, but what's funny to me is everything that happened in college football before the conference realignment was supposed to kill it. NIL supposed to kill it. Transfer portal supposed to kill it. Yet I was at this event and they said that UT, and I'm thinking they talk about Texas, had a $240 million. They made $240 million with the athletic department. 6% of that went to scholarships. 36% of that went to coaches. And so with so much going on in college athletics, why is it no focus is ever on these coaches who pretty soon in the very, very near future, we're going to have a $20 million a year coach, and we're not that far away from that now.
Yeah, well, it's not just that, Ben. It's not just the millions we're paying in coaches' salaries. It's the millions we're paying for guys not to coach. I mean, Kevin Sumlin was getting a nice payday to not coach at Texas A&M. Coach O is sitting on a beach right now in Destin, counting his $1 million checks he's continuing to get from LSU. Tom Herman, same thing from Texas. I mean, it's absurd what we're paying to buy coaches out. We may be talking about it in a few months with Brian Harsin at Auburn. He may get a big buyout and be paid millions down the road to not coach. It's just we've gotten too hampered on win now, and the leash on these coaches, it's sad to say, is 2 years now. If you're not turning a program around in 2 years, that's all you get. You're out. You're fired. We're on to the next big name. And it's really funny when I look at a school like Texas. I mean, Steve Sarkisian went 5-7 in his first year. He went backwards from what Tom Herman was doing. If he doesn't turn this thing around this year and go 6-6, I think fans are going to be discouraged. But the only reason you're not going to fire him after this year is because he's got the Arch Manning commitment, and you don't want to lose that if you're Texas. So, I think we've gone overboard with expecting everybody to win. And guess what? Adding Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC is going to do? It's going to make it even tougher. It's not going to make it easier to win. So, again, we're going to continue to turn the heat up. We're going to continue to up the ante and paying coaching salaries. All Nick Saban's got to do is go to Tuscaloosa and go, hey, guys, I'm not making enough. They'll go, Coach, what do you need? Do you need $20 million a year? We'll write the check right now. So, yeah, you're right, Ben. It's only going to get worse with the conference expansion and what we pay coaches and then what we pay for coaches' buyouts to not coach.
Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, our guest here on 3 and Out. Chris, appreciate the time. Thanks much.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
Appreciate it. Chris Gordy joining us here on 3 and Out. Back with more on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here at 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, Braves and Cardinals coming up a little bit later tonight. We'll talk about that. Certainly a lot of college football to talk about as well, as we just chatted with Chris Gordy and Ben. Obviously, as you said, 16, 17, 18, $20 million coaches could be around the corner. The finances of it all. And with that, these conferences are seeking out revenue, and that's why you see teams jumping ship. And we'll get into whether that's good for college football coming up just a little bit. But as he said, we could be headed to 20-team mega conferences here.
I just think, well, Kevin, I mean, the thing about the mega conference, Kevin, you know what's coming, right? Like, the cooler heads prevailing is what me and you do every day, on the air when we be trying to sort through this thing. The money is just too good to pass up. I mean, I know he mentioned saying stuff like, if you want to see some pushback, you go and call Vanderbilt and tell Vanderbilt, we appreciate your contributions. And Vanderbilt will say, okay, well, what about the other teams in baseball? You act as if it's all about football.
Yeah.
I get that football is the cash cow. But don't act like Greg Sankey and don't like the fact that the SEC is in the thick of all of it. Basketball, baseball, soccer, track, volleyball. So I get what the cash cow is. But, hey, what do we do in between football season? And they're still good. So, yes, Vanderbilt, y'all safe. We ain't starting no rumors on 3 and Out.
Welcome back. It is 3 and Out on this Wednesday. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, glad you're making us a part of your day. We are glad to have you along the network. Also, ESPNCoastal.com. Also streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Go to our YouTube page, ESPN Coastal. Like, subscribe there, and you'll know every time we go live here each afternoon. You can catch up on all the shows you missed right there. ESPN Coastal on YouTube. I've been talking a lot of college football because, I mean, it's all over the place. Alliances, backstabbing, who's looking over here, who's looking over there. And I asked, Chris Gordy last hour, who's looking out for college football? Who's looking out for the sports in college? And he said, well, there's supposed to be a commissioner doing that. Well, I mean, that is true, but I don't know that he is. Because while major changes have happened across the college landscape, he has said nothing. And again, I'm not saying that the transfer portal is a bad idea. I'm not saying that NIL is a bad idea, but you have said nothing. Not, hey, this is what we think a policy should be. Not, this is what we think would be fair for all of our member schools if we did it this way. Nothing. Just, hey, deuces, man, I'm leaving in a year or so. So you look at guys like Chris Gordy, who we've had on. We have a number of guys on the show, Ben, who love college athletics, love college football. I mean, you play college football. And basically a lot of the responses have been, and again, I know you're going to get a different response when we talk to guys who love SEC football, has been, I get it. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't like it. And the only thing you come back to is like, look, there's something to be said about rivalries and having some history with them. I was talking with Christian about this earlier a bit. Penn State plays Ohio State. And we were talking about it. It's like, is that a rivalry game or is it just a big game? Because Ohio State's good and Penn State's like, well, they're the best team we play, so that's a big game. Their rival, quote unquote, they don't even play anymore. They don't play Pitt. So you lost some of that. You lost some of the, hey, this is Pitt and Penn State for Pennsylvania. We're going back and forth. You lose some of that. And in the name of getting bigger and better and what have you, I wonder if your average college football fan is like, I get it. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't like it.
Well, Kevin, I mean, Kevin, they're not wrong, right? They're not wrong, but the best thing that every time we bring this up, I'm gonna say the same thing. Kevin, you've been in radio a long time. Would you want to go back to how it was? And the answer is hell no, because when you first got in, this was the only way there was to do it. That's how everybody. It's different if you're the only station doing it. No, everybody was doing it like this. But when the new advancement came in, you was like, really? Like, yeah. The first thing you said was, we're not going back, are we? Like, this is permanent? Yes. Okay. Now, the thing about it is we know that nothing stays the same. We know that this wasn't going to go on forever. What college football did with the college football playoff, it eliminated an entire portion of the country. But guess what? I don't think it's ever been about college football playoff. It's been about programming. So now it's like, hey, dude, go back the last 5 to 10 years. Tell me the highest generated games during the regular season. I guarantee you they're coming from the southeastern part of the country. So what goes on now when you start talking about college football is, look at how much money is being generated. Like, number one,
I know, but I wanted to follow up your point because you said want to go back. Somebody actually did this. I think they said in just the last year or so, but I think they said last year there were 70 games that got more than 3 million people watching them in college football. There's 70 games. All but, I think 9, it was single digits. All but 9 were Big Ten or SEC football games. So, I mean, that's just go ahead.
And hold on, but what I'm saying is yes, I'm blessed enough to be able to say I was a part of some incredible rivalries when I was at the University of Florida. But just imagine, I think after the Tebow era, now people start talking about Texas A&M, right? Because they weren't in it. Myles Garrett played in the SEC. Von Miller did not, and they both played with Texas A&M. But so I think that what's happening is, Kevin, is we get to say we have become the way back when. Man, I remember when. Yeah, everybody has those stories, but the biggest thing is the money that's generated. Kevin, we always say this. They're not spending money on things that people aren't buying. People are paying for a certain product. And if you are part of that product, you have no problem with the changes. And if you are not, you are going to be speaking the loudest. It's like, so I know that when I saw this, USC and UCLA are saying, hey, man, we better get the hell up out of here while we got a shot to get up out of here. Because Kevin, once the phone stopped ringing, hey, man, that's it. Like, okay, we've capped it. We're not going to do anything. Because you got an old model, they can always say, hey, man, for the next 2 years, we're going to go back to the old school. We're going to do conference. You still have that option. But when it comes down to when it comes to our show, we hope that if you had to pick, you picking our show to listen to when you start talking about college football, you start talking about Braves baseball. That's why we do it. I think what the Big Ten is saying is we can't compete with programming in the SEC. We can't compete with them. Nobody else can really say that because why? We got Ohio State. We got Michigan. Recent college football playoff, participants. We got a Penn State, right? We got an Iowa. I get it. But we got big enough names to where say we can compete. Now, you're going to have to put that to the test because we're going to have to see. Because Kevin, rivalry weekend might happen a little earlier. Like, the thing about it is Michigan, like, what can compete with Michigan, Ohio State? Do you move the Red River rivalry to the same weekend of the big game? Do you do that? Because look, and I'm a person to where, look, I know people, being you went to Florida, it's easy. No, I can see both sides of this thing. I can see the fact that, a team like Florida is going to benefit from it because they are a staple in the SEC, but Florida hasn't been relevant as of late as far as like winning national championships, but their brand equity is there. That's why Oklahoma and Texas get to come over. They're not coming over to win natties. They couldn't win natties in the old way. How the hell are they going to win natties now? But you are bringing brand equity to it. So I just think that for some of these coaches and players or the fans, when you are a fan of a college team, it is way different than a pro team. It is not even close. You so tied into your college team to where it bothers you when they do stuff. All right, so Matty Ice left the Falcons. All right, cool. I mean, all right, I don't like it, but that's cool, right? But if Anthony Richardson decides he don't want to play for Florida, I got a problem with that. I can't stop it. But Kevin, it's a different. So that's what you're really talking about. The fandom in college is real. It is serious as it get. I can't really speak for outside of maybe Bills fans or maybe like Green Bay Packers fans. It's like fair weather. College football, it is no joke. It is no joke. It ain't nothing to play with. So I do think while you are definitely affecting that, I think, Kevin, it's like this. Georgia Southern never had to respond to Georgia State. They never had to say a word. But because they did, you got a nice little rivalry going on right now. I don't know if that's going to be the case when it comes to the SEC or the quote new Big Ten, but I just think that we might as well get our minds wrapped around it. These coaches ain't getting these big time deals and wanting to associate themselves with LA. Think about a Brian Kelly. Dude, you in Notre Dame. I want some of the SEC action. Really? Yeah. Because they can see what's going on around the country. Like I said, Kevin, certain coaches, they want the money. They want the freaking prestige and fame that come with it. Urban Meyer is more famous for what he did at Florida than what he did at Ohio State. And I'm not taking away what he did at Ohio State. But he became the man at Florida, and that's forever now. So I think these coaches kind of want the same thing. We'll see what happens, but I'm sorry. If you're not one of those teams, if you're not JSU as far as HBCUs, you hate Deion. But if you associated with him, you love it. And that's what this really is. If you ain't a part of this train that's leaving the station, you can't stand it. But if you own it, hey, man, I got a ticket and I'm good. Kevin, you know it's not going back. And Nick Saban is just loving this because his contract already getting renegotiated.
Oh, no, you're right. I look around at the fracturing of college athletics. Specifically, we're talking college football here. And I wonder about the teams that get on the outside looking in, right? Because I know people will look at it and go, oh, Duke's not going to be left out. Why? Because of basketball? Coach K's gone. What do you bring to the table? We bring the ghost of Coach K as the head coach. He's still alive. But you bring the history of Coach K. You were good with David Cutcliffe and Steve Spurrier. And outside of that, you have to go all the way back to like the 40s. So what are you bringing to the table? Duke could be a program that ends up on the sidelines and you're going, and there they go. And you're going, they're not going to fade away. No, but it'll be significantly different because you're not going to be getting anywhere close to the type of money that everybody else is. You know, a Boston College, a Syracuse, an NC State, a Washington State, an Arizona State, an Oklahoma State, who are teams that are good. They bring a lot to the table, but maybe they don't bring enough to the table.
Yeah.
And then if you get to mega consolidation, you're all just out here playing for what? For who?
Yeah.
Because in Power 2, we're like, well, we're doing our own thing. And that's what everybody, quote unquote, everybody wants to see. And what happens? That's the stuff that I look at it from that side of what happens to all the programs that now are P5 schools that might just be just another school. And I know you've talked about that as well. And that's what I think is bad about the direction it's going, because people say, oh, it's going to be like NFL junior. Do college football fans want it to be the NFL junior? I don't think most of them do.
They don't. They don't.
And so that's what I'm talking about. Is it's getting bigger. Like, we're going to make this kind of NFL junior. I don't know that most people want it to be that.
They don't. They don't. Most people only watch the NFL because there's nothing else going on Sunday. You have options on Saturday, and you pick what you want. It's not most of NFL games are awful. They are not good. They just call it what they are. Kevin, even guess you're gonna have a winner and a loser. But Kevin, are you? Come on, man. Like, and I mean this respectfully, right? Are you really getting up for, I don't know, the Panthers versus the Dolphins at 1:00? You're not. You're not. Whereas a college game, you're listen, I told y'all, listen, I'm gonna have a book coming out soon, man. It's gonna be called, No Weddings in the Fall. And it ain't gonna have nothing to do with weddings. You'll see what I'm talking about. No, because Kevin, this is the thing, right? If somebody does something on Sunday, unless it's messing up, the time you go to church, because you planned everything after church. I go to church, I'm planning everything after. Saturday, you go, wait. What you mean you want us to be there at 1:00? No. You don't have it at 1:00? Yeah. And I think that you're right. It's like, I'm a voice for college athletics first, not just because I went to Florida. No. And that's what this really is about. Most teams in college football are slot fillers. What type of slot you fill is not really determined upon you. Billy Napier went from $2 million to get a 7.1. He hasn't coasted down. Florida going to be trending upward based off of what? You don't know that. You don't know if Florida's going to do it, but they're so entrenched. Why? Because they got Tebow, because they got Spurrier, and that's forever. That's all you need. Certain schools ain't got that kind of stuff, and they're going to get penalized because of it. I'm going to say this. In the last 25 years in the state of Georgia, as far as like college players that's come out of the state of Georgia, the only one that was a Heisman Trophy finalist was Joey Hamilton. He went to Georgia Tech. He's the only one. He's the only one. What would they say? Yeah, but he didn't win it. Hell, Georgia ain't even got no Heisman finalist, but they won the national championship. See, it's like what? Hey, who's the best receiver come out of the last 20 years? Calvin Johnson, Georgia Tech. Who had an offense that nobody can stop? Georgia Tech. People don't, so to me, they be looking at stuff wrong. Georgia Tech to me is the one. Georgia Tech to me is the domino that should fall, because if I'm the Big Ten, I'm calling Georgia Tech right now, because I can ill afford to lose the city of Atlanta. And if you do, because you're going to need that part of the country. I'm telling you, you're going to need that.
Yeah, again, I think that's going to be interesting, but I just look at it and say, are you heading in a direction that most fans don't want it to? I think that's the case. I really do. With a lot of, because again, let's say the Big Ten poaches 2 or 3 teams from the ACC, like, especially if you're from the South, like what are you doing there? Like, you don't have any historical alignment to any of those teams. And so I get it. It's about survival. It's about money. It's about staying relevant. I get all that. But again, as I said, most people, I don't think, have to like it, but can recognize the direction it's going. And I don't know that that's a good thing if we end up at 20 or 24 team mega conferences. I think you start losing some people that are like, I could take it or leave it at this point, where it's gotten so ridiculous from where it was just a handful of years ago. I still think a lot of college football, kind of the beauty, the charm of it is, hey, I'm a fan of Georgia. We're playing our next door neighbor right there. And right there, and right there, and right there, and right there. Georgia, and I'm saying Georgia just in this case, Ben, as a generic. I mean, I could say this about a whole lot of other teams. Mm-hmm. Georgia was built playing Alabama and Auburn and Florida and Tennessee. Georgia didn't become Georgia because they were in the same conference as Michigan or Ohio State or
Thanks. Yes.
Northwestern or
Yes.
pick any of them.
Yes.
It was built because we live right next door to each other, metaphorically, with the, and I guess geographically sense in the state. We intermingle with one another. We're all from the same region. I know you could say with the internet and technology and information, you kind of lose some of that cultural stuff of, hey, the West Coast is different than the South, which is different than the North. But you kind of lose some of that. But still, the SEC was built on, we're all in the South. We kind of all do the same kind of stuff.
Yes.
And we get it.
Yes.
We don't have a lot in common with LA.
No,
Except
nothing.
You have LA, we have Lower Alabama. That's what that's the only thing we got. And I think you lose that. Again, the Big Ten. If you're sitting there in Chicago, Northwestern, Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, you don't have a lot in common with fans from Southern California.
Zero.
Or Oregon. I mean, so I think that is one of those things that brought conferences together. And I'm sad to see we're going away from that.
It's a perception problem.
So
I will say this: the perception problem is, listen, which is a good thing. The Big Ten think they got better football than the SEC. The SEC think they got better football, right? And rightfully so. Rightfully so. I can live with that. But like you say, Kevin, listen, this is the thing about California that people don't know. Southern California compared to Northern California, they might as well be two totally different states. They don't even compare in the same state. NorCal and SoCal don't even compete. And I mean, don't even compare. You bring up a great point. The only people who know what Wisconsin is, right, live in Michigan. The only people know what Ohio is, they live in Wisconsin. They know where it is, right? As a person from LA, where the hell Wisconsin is. As a person from, because let's be. I mean, people like the Great Lakes, right? What's that, Lake Erie? But we don't know what the hell it is. Where's Cleveland? I don't know. I know it's up there. Up where on the map? You ain't never been there. And Kevin, that is saying something. The fact that whether it's Mississippi State, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, we all share what we in the South. The culture is the same. And that's past football. The culture is the same, even when you're not on the. You start saying, "Hey, yeah, man, who you got this week? We got Arizona. What the hell's going on in Arizona? I don't know. Arizona had to take their field from outside, and they had to slide it so they got natural grass.
Yeah. It was like Georgia played at Arizona State a few years back, and it was like, okay, this is interesting, but I mean, I'm not getting excited about that every other year or something. Where it's like, oh, going to play, like it just doesn't. I don't know, just doesn't do it for me. We got more to come. A lot of change going on around college football, and who knows? It could be all different tomorrow, Ben. You just never know. We got some more football talk around the corner. Baker Mayfield on the move. How does that affect the fact? Are they now the worst team in the NFC South? With that next, it's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Hit us up on Twitter. Love to hear from you at Pigskin Radio, at Pigskin Radio. We're also streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. You can also see us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We encourage you to go to our YouTube channel, ESPN Coastal, there on YouTube. Ben, before we move along, did have this comment from Cord there on Facebook. Did y'all mention Phil Knight wanting Oregon to join the SEC? And I'll just say this. I believe Phil Knight probably wants Oregon to go wherever they can stay viable. I mean, he's a big Oregon alum. And for those who don't know, Phil Knight started Nike, worth $10 gajillion. And really, I think, Ben, you could credit Phil Knight for the reason that Oregon is relevant. He kind of said, look, if we want Oregon to make a statement and not just be the Ducks and a team that plays football in Oregon, I'm Nike. I have the power to do it. Let's get crazy. Let's get nuts. Let's make uniforms every other week. They'll all be different. They'll be wild. They'll be out there. They'll be exotic. And what did Oregon kind of become known for? They're the cutting edge of uniform stuff, right? It's like, hey, you want something crazy? Oregon probably going to try it out first, and then everybody else can see if they like some. But it made Oregon a brand based off that. People are like, oh, Oregon's the ones that always wear something crazy. I could see he wanting to be in the SEC, Ben. I mean, that makes about as much sense as Southern Cal and UCLA going to the Big Ten. But Phil Knight wants Oregon to have a landing spot. That's what that's all about. I don't know if the SEC wants Oregon. I mean, why? That would be my first thing is like, okay, they have Phil Knight and Nike. I guess there's a tie-in there. But, I mean, Phil Knight's already getting plenty of SEC business with Nike uniforms. But if you're the SEC, why? Why would you take Oregon? You don't.
Nope.
If it's me, I mean, there's plenty of other options that you could take, not being Oregon. And what happens when Phil Knight's no longer in the picture? I think Phil Knight's in his 80s, or at least his late 70s. Once he steps out of the picture, it's like, does the next guy at Nike care as much about Oregon as he does? I mean, I don't see why the SEC would want Oregon.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right. Well, look, I mean, unless they, like I said, if they do get Oregon, that's going to be as far west, as they go. But Phil
you
Knight
can't go much farther unless you get Hawaii or something.
Phil Knight is thinking this, dude. I care about brand longevity. Y'all care about, like, I want to make sure that we are tied to something that is bigger than us because, like you say, Kevin, I mean, the people kind of know what we're doing right now. Like, they know we got Nike. They know that we known for uniforms. They know that we known for, but we do got a Heisman Trophy winner. He's the starting quarterback for the Falcons right now. Right? I just think that Kevin, Phil Knight is saying what is Oregon's staying power? Because right now we obviously thought that we were a bigger brand than we were, and we're calling other conferences now. Hello, this Phil Knight, what's up, man? Maybe we want to come over to the Big Ten. We'll let you know. Notre Dame's on the other line. I'll call you back. I'm just saying it's like yeah, Kevin, Phil Knight is doing the sensible thing to protect his brand. Down the road. We'll see what happens, but once again, Greg Sankey has the most sought-after number in college athletics right now. And if he ain't calling you or you ain't calling him, because we kept talking about Kevin who could find himself on the outside looking and thinking they're a bigger brand than they thought. And outside of them big, gigantic John Deere-looking uniforms, hey, man, it could be, man, it could be a curtain call for them Oregon Ducks, Kevin, because like I said, they are a big brand, but as it pertains to big brands, they got that Nike, they got Phil Knight, but Phil Knight don't play football. So I just think that when you start talking about former alumni, you don't get much bigger than Phil Knight now. Sure. Let's not trip, because Arkansas got Jerry Jones. You see what I'm saying? Like, so you got some former ones, but do we help you football wise? And the answer is no, Phil. That's the thing. You don't help them football wise. So we'll see, Kevin. Yeah, it don't. And at the end of Kevin, once again, me and Kevin is putting on our, we are part of the SEC, determining who comes in committee. Hey, y'all boys like green? Yeah. Y'all boys want to go green? Y'all want to look John Deere? Nah, not Oregon. Anybody ever been to Oregon? Anybody ever seen the Trailblazers? Yeah. You know who Damian Lillard is? That's gonna be a no. That's gonna be a no for me. So we're gonna just keep moving. We're not gonna spend much time on this.
Yeah.
Phil Knight, we love you. But think about it. Phil Knight ain't big enough. God, that's what we are in college. Phil Knight is being told, nope, sorry.
I don't think he's being told no. I just think if you're the SEC, it's like, why would you do that? Like, why, again, there's nobody within, 1,000 miles. Literally. Like, once Texas comes in, Oklahoma, I guess, would be closer, but there's nobody within 1,000, 1,500 miles. Literally, Oklahoma would be halfway across the country, and that would be the closest game. Like, why would you do that? I just, again, nothing makes sense in this era. Like USC and the Big Ten, like who? But again, I think if you're the SEC, the SEC is in that position of we can be as regional as we want to be and still be uberly viable. We didn't get to talk about this, so we'll take a break, Ben. We'll come back and we'll talk about. You mentioned the Heisman Trophy winner quarterback from the Ducks starting for the Falcons, but might the Falcons be the are they the worst quarterbacking gig right now in the NFC South? We'll talk about that when we return. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. 3 and Out here on this Wednesday. Baker Mayfield traded to Carolina. Ben, the Browns are going to pay his salary here in 2022. So you got Tom Brady, you got Jameis, Baker Mayfield, and Marcus Mariota. The Falcons, are they now last at the quarterbacking front here? Are they the worst quarterback team in the NFC South? And I know you can say, well, what has Baker Mayfield done? I get it. That's why I'm asking the question, though. After this move, are the Falcons now last from a quarterbacking standpoint?
Yes, I mean, and if I'm being honest, and I respect Marcus Mariota, we probably was last before they got Baker Mayfield, and I love Marcus Mariota, but this is the thing, Kevin, think about this though. Baker Mayfield is leaving the AFC North, where you had 3 Heisman Trophy winners: him, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Right now, he's coming to the NFC South, to where 3. Yeah, him, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston. Right. Here's the thing: he wasn't the best quarterback. He's in the AFC North. He sure as hell ain't the best quarterback now with Tom Brady. But I will say this about Baker Mayfield, right? I give Baker Mayfield a lot of flack. But when you think about it, Baker Mayfield more than did what he was supposed to do for the Cleveland Browns. They just very, very, I don't know when did the Cleveland Browns get so entitled? The Cleveland Browns, before Baker Mayfield got there, were 1-31. In 2 years, they won 1 game before he got there, right? So he gets there. They go to you get there, Kevin. They go to a playoff game. They beat. I don't think they had won a playoff game since the 90s. When did the Cleveland Browns get so entitled? So this is what happened with Baker Mayfield. They expected Baker Mayfield to do what he did for Oklahoma for Cleveland. No. So Baker Mayfield, once again, gets to have a resurgence of his career in the NFC South. He gets to do it in the Carolina Panthers team that, let's face it, they don't really got realistic expectations. Just like the jury is still out, on Arthur Smith, the jury is still out on Matt Rule. You don't know what the hell he's got going on up there in Carolina either. But Baker Mayfield, new place, new opportunity. We'll see what happens. But Atlanta, you already know what the assignment is. Beat Carolina, so you don't be bottom feeders. Because Kevin, because at the end of the day, right, 3 former Heisman Trophy winners are all 3 of them are fighting for their NFL lives. And they happen to be in the same division as the oldest player in the NFL, freaking Tom Brady. And he's miles and miles ahead of all 3 of them. We will see what happens. Baker Mayfield doesn't lack confidence. Jameis Winston gives some of the best interviews you've ever seen. And Marcus Mariota, we don't really know what he's about yet. It should be exciting, Kevin. But, hey, man, Baker Mayfield is in the South now. Think about it. He went to Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Cleveland. Now he's in Carolina. Young man, Cleveland ain't Carolina now. I'm just telling you. Charlotte nice city, though. But we'll see what happens, Kevin. But, yes, to answer your question, not only is the Atlanta Falcons has the worst quarterback in the division, they had that, but I still think Sam Darnold was a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. That ain't saying much.
No,
but at the same time, though, Kevin, Marcus Mariota proved me wrong. I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan by default. Grew up in the state of Georgia. I don't get to pick nobody else. Y'all who I got. So come on, Marcus. Act like you got 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". Act like you want to be here. And if Cordell Patterson rushed for more yards than any other running back on the team this year, I'm going to lose my mind. But we'll see. But shout out to Baker Mayfield, man. You want to go somewhere where you celebrate and not tolerate it. He seemed to have found him a home down there in Carolina. Only problem is his starting receiver, Robbie Anderson, don't want him. Unless he's going to change.
That's an interesting dynamic to walk into, right? When you're walking into a locker room where guys are like, nope, don't want you to be here. And again, I know it's professional sports and you don't all have to be friends to get along, but will be interesting. And again, if Baker Mayfield doesn't win very much in Carolina, you could say, hey, they're a bad team, but their defense is not bad, Ben. You still have Christian McCaffrey. I know he gets injured a lot, but you do still have Christian McCaffrey. If Baker Mayfield takes them a step forward, maybe people look at him and say, hey, maybe it was Cleveland. Maybe it was that situation. That's what they're going to say. Cleveland had what? Cleveland had like four coaches in like 3.5 years. Like, Cleveland is in no position to be talking about what needs to go on. What the heck? I'm sorry. Didn't y'all go 0-16? Yeah, you did. So please,
You win a full calendar year, and no 2 years, and you won one game. You got the nerve to be telling people you ain't good enough. What the hell? Really? Okay, cool. If that's how you feel about it, because some people can't. As my grandma said, the audacity. Did you just say that to me?
Yes, they did.
The only thing ever happened to Cleveland was the Cavs, LeBron. Outside of that, come on, man. Deshaun Watson, I don't know what y'all think he gonna do. He sure as hell ain't gonna play football in 2022. So I don't know what y'all think gonna do in 2023. Take y'all to the Super Bowl? Not happening. Nope.
So yeah, Baker Mayfield into the fold of the NFC South. Falcons fans, you just better hope Marcus Mariota gets it done.
Come on, Marcus. Come on, Marcus.
And again, I say that more from your standpoint, Ben, where you're like, look, are the Falcons on the same level as the Bucks? Okay, no, I get it, but you just don't be last, right?
There it is. There it is, Kevin. Okay, Kevin, ain't nothing wrong with saying that. Coming from a person, I know what the listener is saying. Ben, you played for the Titans, and we listen. I know what being a bottom feeder is. Okay,
I was there. People understand. Don't be last.
Yeah, at the end of the day, sometimes it's better to say we weren't last, right? I mean, because we weren't. Now, true indeed, we was in a race with 4 people. We just got to come in 3rd and not 4th. And that's easier said than done.
Yeah, sometimes that's an easier thing, right? As you said, look, we'll see. We'll see if Baker Mayfield works out. If he does, Falcons are going to have to up their game in a big way, or maybe Desmond Ridder will still see the field.
Come on, Desmond. He looked like
No, look, I'm still of the opinion that he shouldn't see the field this year if you really want him to be the starting quarterback. I get at the end of the day. But
unless it's some blowouts, which it probably could be.
If it goes that way with Baker Mayfield in the division where you're trying to not be last, maybe you roll the dice. Who knows?
Baker Mayfield gonna have the ball, because if he doesn't, ain't gonna be no second contract. Not for what he want. Because you're the number 1 overall pick. I'm just saying. You know who's had a better career right now, money wise, depending on what happens? Kirk Cousins, the Baker Mayfield, guaranteed contracts only. Deal with it.
He's also won more than Baker Mayfield.
Listen, and he got a catchphrase. You know what I'm saying? You like that? I'm just saying. Man, that man used to drive an Astro van.
He's got the stats to back it up, though, right?
He does. He got Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. You know what I'm saying? The company. I mean, he got cooking those boys up there. Irv Smith Jr. He got some Dalvin Cook, Irv Smith, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. He better have some stats. He ain't gonna beat Green Bay, but he gonna have some stats.
I'm just comparing him to Baker Mayfield right now. That's all I was.
Oh, no. Kirk Cousins said the audacity. Don't you ever put me over there with Baker. I'm better than Baker right now.
We got more to come. We're getting ready for Braves and Cardinals. We'll do that when we come back. It's 3 and Out. Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on this Wednesday. Braves and Cardinals coming up 6:05. We'll have pregame coverage for you here as the Braves try to make it 3 in a row. And Ben, they've won some kind of obscene amount. I think ever since that Mike Fultonavich playoff meltdown where they scored 10 runs in the first inning against the Braves and eliminated them. I think the Braves are like 10-2 against the Cardinals. Like they've been really, really good against the St. Louis Cardinals and have gotten off to a great start in this series, winning the first two and 2.5 games behind the Mets, Ben. And I looked this up because, you know, all the Mets fans were out there going, oh, but the Atlanta Braves, they haven't played anybody. It's just that weak schedule that they played. Okay, that's fine. That's what they were supposed to do. Also, since the was like the 20th of June when they got rid of that big run of quote unquote weak games, they've played the Padres, they've played the Dodgers, they've played the Phillies, who are first team out of the wild card right now, and they're currently playing the Cardinals, who would be in the postseason right now. In those 11 games, they're 8-3. 8-3, Ben Troop, when against what you would consider, you know, the tougher competition.
Kevin, at the end of the day, what's that word? Haters gonna hate, and I am sick of what this is the thing, right? This is the thing, right? Pettiness, like hate, is a fragrance that you shouldn't wear. Like you're not stopping anything. The Braves are one of the fabrics of the MLB. They're one of the best teams, some of the best players. Get over it. Get over it. If the Braves had a 10.5 game lead on the Mets, you think the Mets would catch them? Nope. I guarantee they wouldn't, because the Braves understand what's at stake. I'm not saying the Mets aren't playing.
I do know if we got down to 2.5 games, I'd be awful nervous.
Kevin, once again, the Braves did what they had to do. You know, go raw Vidak. Hey, he said it. Michael Harris. Hey, I know we get to talk about Austin Riley. I know we get to talk about, you know, Dan's response to the rifle. So, you know what I'm saying, Duval and, you know, Wright and Matt Olson. Michael Harris is that dude. Like, you don't got that dude right now. I don't know where he ranks as far as like center fielders go. Oh, he's top 10. Easy. If not top 5. As far as like player efficiency, what he does with his glove, serious. 21 years old, Atlanta native. No AAA, no AA. Hey, young man, let's do it. But at the end of the day, Kevin, haters gonna hate. Say what you want to say. In the words of T.I., you can hate if you want to, but you're wasting your time. Because them Bravos, they're gonna do what they do. And they're still not playing their best. Because Ronald Acuna Jr., you don't want him to catch fire. Because if he does, it could be over. Listen, he can go. I'm just waiting on him to catch fire right now. Kind of been dealing with the injury bug a little bit, but guess what? What's that word? The song says, "Help is on the way." Rosario on his way back.
Rosario's been back for a couple of games and played pretty well. Look, I look at Acuna, and you play the Mets next week. It'd be a heck of a time for Ronald Acuna to snap out of it next week and really have a big series. Look, I agree with you, Ben. You got Rosario back 2 days ago. You got Tyler Matzik back 2 days ago.
He's Houdini.
Yeah, and you got some guys that are going to be back before the season is over. This is a team that still has, as you said, more upside. Can they play better than they are now? I mean, I don't know if they can play much better. I mean, I think they're over the last month plus they have to be about like 25-5 or something. It's something ridiculous that they've been playing. They are playing like a World Series contender should. Been that they are winning at a huge clip, and they have trimmed into this lead. And to me, I like the way they're playing right now, knowing what's their deficiency. It's when Marcell Ozuna has to play in the field. That's a bad that can't happen. Yeah. But now that Rosario's back, he's out there. You've really shored up defensively with Michael Harris and Ronald Acuna. Those two out there, you could put Adam Duvall, Rosario, whoever out there in left field, and you're going to be really, really good. Infield-wise, I know they miss, Ozzie, but as you've said a number of times, Dansby is playing at an all-star level. If he doesn't start the all-star game, like that's a travesty. I know the starter is based on fan voting. I get it, but he is playing at an elite level, offensively and defensively. Because a lot of people say, well, he's not hitting, but he plays great defense. I said that on the show. He plays great all-star level defense. He certainly does that. And now that he's added the offense to it, it's been amazing. Yeah. Austin Riley has been amazing. I think he's got over 20 homers here in the first half. Matt Olson. I think Matt Olson could be better for the Atlanta Braves, but he's been really good. He doubles hitting machine. Defense by and large been really, really good. I think for a guy in transition, he's been good. Travis d'Arnaud, very good. I don't know if he's going to start the All-Star game, but you have really good players all around the diamond, and several of them who should be All-Stars. I think Ronald Acuna got the most votes. He's going to start. I think Dansby should be there. I feel like Austin Riley should be there from a position player standpoint. So that'd be three. I feel like you really have three solid guys. Michael Harris, sorry, it is what it is. Hadn't been in the big leagues long enough to garner that, but I think that is a kid that he's going to be in an All-Star game or two before it's all said and done here with the Atlanta Braves. So big time upside. You got Max Fried going tonight. I think he's been so good. And that was the question, Ben, was when do guys go from being young talent to veteran? And I think Max is kind of entering that stage where it's like, hey, I'm now a veteran. And to me, he has embraced that role of ace. 8-2, ERA 2.66. And every time he takes the bump, you feel like we're about to win. That doesn't mean you're going to, but it feels like every time he takes the mound, you're going to win. And that's what aces bring. You don't think next Monday night, and people are already looking ahead, I think Monday night, scheduled to be Scherzer v. Max Fried, which would be incredible. You don't think both teams rolling those guys out are like, we expect to win. And I think Max, that's probably an underreported story, if you can underreport on that. Underreported thing is how well Max Fried has gone from big talent, a lot of potential, to leader of a rotation and an ace. He's become that every bit. And it wasn't always clear-cut that it was going to be him. I think people said, hey, maybe Mike Soroka develops into that. Maybe one of these other guys develops into it. It's Max, and he's become the de facto ace of this staff. We got 20 seconds, Ben.
At the end of the day, Kevin, I think when you talk about a guy like Max Fried and being able to step into this role, being the ace for a team like the Braves is not an easy not an easy feat, because you always gonna get compared to the guys of the past. But he got the World Series ring bling to back it up, and he's coming back for a nice encore appearance.
Absolutely. We appreciate Rich Styles, Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC podcast, joining us here on the program, talking golf, talking SEC football, college football. The whole college football world could be different tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see you tomorrow here, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.